Picture this. It's 1593, and King Henry IV of France is out there making big promises. He declares he wants every peasant in his kingdom to be able to afford a chicken in their pot every Sunday. Sounds noble, right? A vision of abundance for all. But here's the twist. While the king was busy with his royal speeches and politics, those same peasants were already chowing down just fine. They didn't need his fancy chickens or his kingdom's handouts. Nope, for over 500 years, their pots were bubbling with something way more reliable, something that didn't depend on the ups and downs of economies or monarchs. It was a plant. Yeah, you heard that right. A humble weed they called Good King Henry. Scientific name? Chenopodium bonus henricus, or sometimes Blytum bonus henricus these days. From the 12th century right up to the Industrial Revolution, this bad boy was the unsung hero in cottage gardens across Europe, from the misty fields of England to the hardy plots in Germany. It wasn't some exotic import you had to buy. Heck, it wasn't even something you replanted every season. Planted once, and boom, it feeds you, your kids, and probably your grandkids for life. That's the magic of perennials, my friends. If you love the idea of growing food that doesn't need permission from anyone, come along for the ride. Hit subscribe right now to SproutCycle Garden. We're sharing more of these independence-building plants every week. It's free, it takes one click, and it means a lot to us. Cool? Let's see how this story ends. So why are we cracking open this forgotten file today? Because Good King Henry, often nicknamed the peasant's asparagus, didn't just fade away. It was basically pushed out by modern agriculture. Not because it sucked or failed to deliver, but because it worked almost too perfectly. It challenged the whole system. To really get why it's not in every backyard right now, we've got to rewind and see what we let slip through our fingers. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll be itching to get some seeds and start your own quiet revolution in the garden. All right, let's start at the roots, literally. If you could have strolled into a typical Tudor-era garden around 1550, Good King Henry would have been the star player, anchoring everything. Come March, you'd shoot up these thick, juicy stalks that taste just like sweet, tender asparagus. No joke. Crisp, flavorful, and ready to grill or steam. Then by May, it unfurled leaves that are basically a milder version of spinach, and it'd keep pumping them out non-stop until the first frost hits. For generations, this plant was the secret sauce in medieval soups. Mix it with leeks, chard, maybe some crusty bread, and you've got a nutrient-packed broth that got hard-working farmers through those harsh, bone-chilling winters. We're talking survival food here, folks. And get this, the Romans were all over it too. Pliny the Elder, that famous naturalist dude, wrote about a plant that Emperor Tiberius demanded as tribute from the Germanic tribes. Historians are pretty sure he was raving about Good King Henry. The emperor was obsessed. He wanted it shipped in special relays just to keep it fresh. That's how prized it was back then. Native to the Alps and much of Central and Southern Europe, it spread like wildfire because it was so dang reliable. In folktales, its name might come from Guter Heinrich in German, meaning Good Henry, to set it apart from poisonous lookalikes like Bad Henry. That's dog mercury, by the way. Stay away from that one. Some say the king got tacked on later in English, but honestly, who cares? It ruled the gardens without needing a crown. Now, let's talk about why this plant is a nutritional beast that makes a lot of our modern greens look like wimps. You know how we hype up spinach or kale as superfoods? Good King Henry laughs at that. Back in 1989, a study in Acta Horticultura dove into its nutrient profile, and more recently in 2022, the Backyard Larder folks ranked perennial veggies for density. Guess what? Good King Henry crushed it, outperforming spinach, kale, and chard in key micronutrients. We're talking iron levels higher than spinach, around 20 milligrams per kilogram fresh weight, and spinach is at 27, but this one's bioavailability is solid when cooked right. Calcium, more than you'd get from a glass of milk. Vitamin C, absolutely off the charts, helping with immunity and all that good stuff. It's loaded with B vitamins too. Think folate, B6, and more, way beyond most leafy greens. And don't forget the complete protein vibe from its seeds, which are like mini quinoa bombs. But here's the real kicker. All this nutrition comes from a plant that asks for zilch in return. No annual tilling, no buying seeds every spring, no fuss. It just pops up year after year like your most dependable buddy. In a world where we're dumping billions into genetically tweaking crops for drought resistance, why aren't we shouting about this natural, drought-proof wonder? It's got deep roots, up to 3 feet down, that pull up water and nutrients from places other plants can't reach. Plus, it's got some anti-nutrients like oxalic acid and saponins, but a quick cook or soak knocks those out easily. Moderation is key, especially if you've got kidney issues, but for most folks, it's a powerhouse. Okay, pause for a sec. Does this sound like something you'd want in your garden? If you're nodding along, drop a comment below. Team Good King Henry. And hey, if this is firing you up, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so we can spread the word. All right, back to the story. So where did it all go wrong? Why isn't Good King Henry in every supermarket or backyard? It's not some wild conspiracy theory, it's more like a geometry lesson gone bad, mixed with a dash of capitalism. The downfall kicked off in 1701 with this English inventor named Jethro Tull. No, not the rock band. The guy who created the seed drill. Genius machine, right? It mechanized planting, making it faster and more precise. But here's the catch. It demanded uniformity. Straight rows, predictable crops, perfect for annuals like wheat, corn, or turnips that you start fresh each year. Good King Henry? Total chaos in that system. It grows in clumps, spreads via roots, and doesn't play nice in lines. You couldn't drill it in neatly or harvest it with machines. In the eyes of the budding industrial age, it was inefficient. Not because it didn't feed people, it did that brilliantly, but because it didn't fit the mold. Fast forward to the Industrial Revolution and things ramp up. Farmers shift from seeing food as sustenance to viewing it as a production line. In 1837, John Deere dropped the steel plow, revolutionizing how we break ground. Suddenly, you could tear up tough prairie soil and turn it into farmland overnight. But perennials, like Good King Henry, they're deep, tough root systems were the plow's nemesis. They held the soil tight, resisted the blade. Annuals, with their shallow, wimpy roots, were a breeze. Plow, plant, harvest, repeat. The machines won, and the system locked in on annuals, not because they were better for us or the earth, but because they meshed with the tech. By 1900, tractors replaced horses, and every gadget was built to wipe the slate clean each spring. Perennials fought back. Their resilience, those 3-foot roots that built soil health and sequestered carbon, became a flaw. Labeled weeds, inefficient holdouts. But machines are only part of it. The real motive, business. In the 1920s, seed companies like Burpee and Ferry Morse exploded. They spot a gold mine. Annuals mean repeat customers. Sell spinach seeds, you're back next year. But Good King Henry? Plant once and poof, self-sufficiency. No more sales. It's the enemy of recurring revenue. By 1950, seed catalogs quietly dropped perennials like this. It vanished, not because it failed, but because it empowered people too much. Then comes the knockout punch, the Green Revolution in the 1960s. Norman Borlaug's high-yield dwarf wheat saves billions from starvation. Props for that, but at what cost? It chained us to synthetic fertilizers, heavy mechanization, and endless annual cycles. Governments subsidized grains like corn and soy. Universities poured cash into annual research. Extension services trained farmers to think in seasons, not perennials. We gambled everything on annuals, and now 70% of global cropland is tied up in them, while perennials limp along at just 13%. Wild, right? Nature's got 94% of plants as perennials, but we flipped the script. What did we sacrifice? Let's break it down, because this hits home for any gardener watching. First, the soil. Annual farming means tillage every year, ripping open the earth, leaving it bare, inviting erosion, runoff, and carbon emissions. Remember the Dust Bowl in the 1930s? That was plowing up perennial prairies for annual wheat. Perennials like Good King Henry? Their roots lock soil in place year-round, cutting erosion by up to 50% per Land Institute research. They build organic matter, fight climate change. Water's another biggie. Annuals guzzle 5 times more because of shallow roots. In a thirsty world, we're betting on the least efficient option. Then chemicals. Tilling kills soil life, so we dump fertilizers. Bare fields breed pests, so pesticides it is. Good King Henry? Zero need. Deep roots grab nutrients, constant cover smothers weeds naturally. We're paying the price now: degraded soil, water shortages, nutrient-depleted food. The annual model's cracking, but nature's patient. Good King Henry hung on in the edges. Old granny gardens in Yorkshire, wild spots by monasteries, Swiss mountains. And guess what? It's making a comeback. Climate change is forcing our hand, soil loss speeding up, water getting scarce. Those inefficient traits, now they're survival superpowers. In 2009, the Land Institute unveiled kernza, a perennial grain that's gaining traction after years of breeding. Perennial wheat is happening. In 2022, the USDA tweaked its conservation programs to boost perennials. A small step, but it screams change. We're waking up to the fact that true efficiency doesn't destroy the planet. So how can you join this revival? Let's get practical. I'm talking about a step-by-step guide to growing Good King Henry in your own backyard. First off, it's hardy in zones 3 to 9, so most of us can swing it. It loves full sun but handles partial shade like under a fruit tree. Soil? Fertile, well-drained loam with organic matter is ideal, pH 4.5 to 8.3. It adapts though. Tough cookies from the Alps. Start with seeds. They need cold stratification. Stick them in the fridge for 4 to 10 weeks at about 4 degrees Celsius to mimic winter. Then sow 1/4 inch deep in spring or fall, indoors or direct. Germination slow, 70 to 80 days at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so be patient. Space plants 12 to 18 inches apart, rows 18 inches. Water evenly to keep soil moist. Mulch with organic stuff each spring to retain moisture and suppress weeds. Once established, give it a year. No pests or diseases bug it much. It's low maintenance. Just side dress with compost tea every couple weeks or once a year. In cold spots, it dies back in winter, but bounces back. Harvest sparingly the first year to let roots dig deep. When is it time to eat? In spring, snip those pencil-thick shoots. Grill them like asparagus with a bit of oil and salt. Yum. Leaves? Pick young ones for salads. Raw, but moderation due to oxalates. Or steam or sauté older ones like spinach. Boil first to cut bitterness and oxalates. Flower buds? Stir-fry like broccoli florets, a gourmet treat. Seeds, harvest in fall, soak overnight to remove saponins, rinse, then grind into flour for bread or pancakes. Pro tip, grow 15 to 30 plants per person for steady supply. It's a dynamic accumulator too, chops and drops nutrients back into your soil. Now let's cook. Imagine whipping up a medieval-inspired soup. Sauté leeks and chard, toss in Good King Henry leaves and shoots, simmer with broth and bread chunks. Or go modern, stir-fry leaves with garlic and olive oil as a side. For shoots, steam and dip in hollandaise like fancy asparagus. Seeds, mix ground ones into quinoa salads or bake into muffins. Raw leaves in a salad with nuts and vinaigrette, fresh and iron-packed. Just cook most parts to maximize nutrition and minimize any tummy issues from oxalates. This plant's not just food, it's medicine too. Folk remedies used it as a gentle laxative for skin stuff like abscesses, even anemia thanks to that iron. Modern studies hint at neuroprotective flavonoids. Versatile, right? Wrapping this up, Good King Henry proves we don't need kings or corporations for abundance. Plant once, feed forever, outside the industrial grind. It's a rebellion in root form. If this flipped your view on weeds, hit like, subscribe to SproutCycle Garden for more buried treasures, turn on notifications and share with your crew. What do you think? Gonna try growing it? Comment below. Plant the future. The vault's wide open. See you next time.